Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more. Welcome back to another episode. My name is Lachie Stuart and I am your host and the founder of the Man That Can Project and this podcast. Now, our mission is to help men take ownership for their life, learn to love themselves and recognize the value that they have to give the world. Now, we do this obviously through our events, workshops and programs, and of course, this incredible podcast. So before we dive into today's episode, we do talk about addiction. There is, talks of or ideologies of suicide. So if you are struggling, please reach out to Lifeline on 13 11 14 or seek a professional that can help you through that, because remember, you are worthy and you are loved, and we want you guys to be here. And thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. Now, before we pass it over to our special guest, Joe, who's an incredible person, I wanted to share with you guys the Breakthrough online program. Now, the program is a 6-week program that a new module is released every week, and it allows you to work through it at your own pace from the comfort of your own home. I know a lot of blokes out there love the idea of being able to just, self-pace and learn some new skills around communication, how to become a man of value. Okay, so you'll have 36 plus lessons, access to a private Facebook community, and you'll get, some random phone calls from myself, because I always love to hear how you guys are progressing through it. So we'll teach you how to eliminate self-limiting beliefs, communicate with yourself and others with ease, how to start taking action towards your goals, and so much more. So if you'd love to learn more about that or even dive into that program, head over to themanthatcanproject.com/breakthrough online and start cracking. Okay, guys, let's dive into the episode.
You're listening to the Man That Can Project with Lachie Stuart, a global movement created to empower men and open up what's really going through their minds by having real and raw conversations about life's unique challenges and our individual ways of processing it all. Welcome to the Man That Can Project.
Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Welcome back to another episode of the Man That Can Projects podcast. Today we've got an incredible guest who has an incredible story, and I've been fortunate enough to know Joe for, it's hard when you get out of school, you forget what age, I'd say 15 plus years anyway, a fair while. And, obviously over the last couple of years, we've sort of not had as much contact, but we spoke probably 12 months ago or something like that. And I didn't really realize what was going on in your life. And that's probably what we'll talk a bit about today. But mate, it's awesome to see what you're up to these days. And it's inspiring, the journey that you're probably going to share, or you're about to share on the podcast. And I don't know whether it's your first time talking about it, but I know there's going to be a lot of men out there, and females as well, that can relate to the journey that you're on and have been on over the past couple of months. But mate, appreciate you being willing to share your story, and it's going to be really awesome to hear some of the final details. But how you going, Joe? You going well?
Yeah, man, I'm going good. So what do you want me to start with? I suppose when we did talk, what was that, 12 months ago?
Would have been, yeah.
I was in a bit of a slump and I was a bit lost and confused, and it probably was 3 or 4 months after that conversation that I went to rehab to get off the piss and get off the drugs and like sort out my gambling habit and that. Because I would just got to a point where I was every night. I was living in West End in this place in like Melbourne Street, and every night I'd go home from work, get on the piss, and then I had this Parke gaming lounge under my hotel, and I'd go down there till God knows what hour and just play the pokes, mate. And just went off on, and then the bag and get involved, and like it just got to the point where my boss just was like, "Man, you got to go and sort your shit out."
What sort of like led you to that point? Because obviously, we both grew up in the same place, probably had a few parties together and everything like that. So it was something that everyone sort of. I always talk about this on the podcast. Like for me, it felt like it was normal because a lot of people around us were doing similar things, but probably the more I venture out of where we grew up, it wasn't as common. But for yourself, what was sort of happening in the lead up? Was it always something that you were hooking into, the gambling, the piss, the drugs? Was it always, something that you did on the daily?
No, well, I always was, like, through my apprenticeship, I reckon I was pretty good with, like, even when we'd work away, like, everyone wanted to go to the pub after work. I was pretty good with my training and, like, with, like, rugby and stuff. I always loved playing footy and obviously loved having beers after the footy. And then sometimes, like, I don't know, I feel like cocaine's become a lot more prevalent the last, like, 3 years than it ever was when we were younger. But I just feel like since when COVID hit, mate, that's what really, like, it all erupted for me. Like, I've probably had a bit of a, like, I've always had a bit of a party streak and love doing drugs on the weekends and on special occasions since I was 18. But last year it got to the point where I think if I hadn't gone to rehab, I'd probably, like, wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. I'd probably be dead. Like, I've gotten owing people money and, like, just doing it every second day, if not every day, and, like, getting paid and then doing your whole pay through the pokies. Like, I was absolutely lost. And I think when I went into rehab, like, my therapist, her name was Catherine, mate. She was this awesome Irish lady. And she just got me into, like, when I in our first therapy session, she just looked at me. I was sort of talking about what I've been doing, and she just said, like, your spirit's broken. And that was pretty much what do you call it? What she said was wrong with me. Like, what do you call that?
It's that I guess the cause of everything that's happening, and it's such. You go, sorry.
Yeah, so that's what. Oh no, you go.
I was just gonna say, like, it's such a common thing, like that spirit broken, or low self-esteem, lacking confidence, lacking direction. It's such a fucking common thing that the more, if more of us spoke about it, we'd realize just that a lot of us are in the same boat, and we want to have these conversations. We want to ask for help, or it might not even come in the form of help, but we're just missing something in our life, which, causes some of us to turn towards, those sorts of things, because we think it's either going to empty our mind for a little bit because we don't like being up there, or it's going to fix a problem that's going on in our life, which, once again, the head in the sand approach doesn't work too well. But you were saying Catherine said, your spirit was broken. So what sort of happened with the conversation next?
Oh, she was saying my spirit was broken because I'd lost all sense of purpose. And, like, I had lost all my sense of purpose with where I was with work. Like, I was working in Brisbane. Obviously, I'm still with the same company. My boss is awesome. But I was down there and I was probably under a bit of pressure. But the pressure isn't what got to me. I think what got to me was the loneliness and I've always just been a bit of a big dreamer, and I think I was down there thinking I'm more than just being an electrician, and I sort of got caught in a rut of just managing what I was doing with work and then trying to live this rock star party life, because I had a few mates that were also like that lived that life down at the Gold Coast, and I just sort of got all caught up in that, being a bit of a fucking pretender, to be honest, and just got overwhelmed with it, and got to the point where, you have a big weekend or a big night, I'm like, right, that's it, I'm not doing it now. And then start to feel better 2 days later or 3 days later, then you just straight back into it instead of actually fucking stopping, which is what I've done now. Like, for 6 months, I haven't touched it. So it's like I needed that push with rehab, I think, to actually get me there.
That's awesome that you've been for 6 months, mate.
Good on me, yeah.
100%, you're done. Well, what was that loneliness like? What did that feel like for you? Like, coming home and, because obviously there's that difference between being lonely and actually that sense of loneliness. Like, what was that experience like for you?
Oh, it was just like go home, get on the piss, like buy a bottle of whiskey on my way home, and then just see if I could get as many girls around during the week as I can to fill that void, mate. Like, because I just didn't like being on my own, which is probably interesting because from what you said before, what I think, a man is, I think that one thing that I learned in rehab is that, like, when you're completely on your own, is like that's who you should be around everyone.
Yeah,
like the person when you're on your own. It's like who you are, and that's how you should like incorporate like the way you treat people when you are around groups of people. Because I think I've been massive for that in the past. Who I am on my own in a group of people, I'll be a completely different person. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that's a lot of people get lost with that.
Welcome to the club. I think all of us hide behind some form of mask because everyone wants to feel, or the opposite of lonely is accepted, right? We all want to fit in some way, shape or form. And, when we're not clear on, you said earlier, you sort of lost that sense of purpose. And when we lose that sense of purpose, we might not have any direction or any certainty around who we are as individuals, which makes us go, well, if I'm hanging out with these people, I'll be the chameleon and I'll act like them because then maybe they'll accept me. And then when I'm with these people, same thing happens, and it confuses us even more because we're like, fuck, don't know where I fit in at the moment and I don't really know who I am. And, then we go home and we got to sit by ourselves, and it's scary. Like I remember I went through sort of similar experiences, and I hated being by myself, and I hated myself for that matter. And, you could always hang around the boys, you could always hang around people, but still deep down there was that like loneliness trying to work out, I'm much like you, man. I'm a massive dreamer. It's like, I feel like I've got so much more to offer than what I'm currently doing. So it's like, how do we go about doing that? Am I currently being the best version of myself? And it's easy to get sort of caught up in the wrong things. When did the gambling start for you?
Probably when I started doing my apprenticeship. So 18? What's that? 10 years ago. I started like a lot of the people like that I'd kick around with at the pub all loved having to like play on the horses and that. But I was never really. That's when I sort of started. I started like I love going to the Saturday and having like hunting on all the greyhounds, all the horses. But a few of my other mates love playing the pokies, mate. The pokies is what I've found like was my bigger problem with to stop doing. I think there's a lot of a psychology and a science behind it with all the sounds and fucking whistles, mate. Like I'd find myself some days at work sitting there at my computer and hearing that the features like bell go off like in my head. Like that's how bad I like thinking about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like you got that bad. That's what I was talking to my therapist in rehab. She's like, yeah, they're fucking not stupid. How they design those machines. Like it's almost like a drug in itself. Like craving it. You know what I mean? It's fucked.
Yeah, they're not designed to be your friends. That's for sure. They want to keep it just like as much as these fucking iPhones and everything like that. They got teams of people working behind it to keep our attention on there. That's for sure. But going through. What's that?
Watched that doco the other day.
Oh, what is that?
The social one.
Yeah, the social dilemma, is it? Yeah, that's
dilemma.
Scary, hey? Very scary. But obviously, you hit that sort of down point. So what was that like? Like, did you reach out for help, or how did that all come for you? Obviously, you hit that low point.
Like there was two boys. There's two boys I was pretty close with in Brizzy. They were working for us as well. And I think they started watching me sleep. And then they were worried about me. And it got to a point one night, I don't even remember one night I rang one of the boys apparently. And I was just in a bad way. I would have been crying and I was fucking blind. And he came around and picked me up and took me back to his unit. And he just said I was like a mess and I was just crying and like he was like leave me on his own because he was like in a high apartment.
Yep.
So, and he rang my boss the following day, and then within a day, mate, he was down there and had a look at me and was just like, nah, I think you should go to a rehab facility. And he organised the whole thing, mate. So within 2 days, I was in there, which I needed. Like I was probably telling bullshit myself and everyone else that I was fine, but I wasn't. And that's how that all happened. Like just the boys around me, like thinking I'm on my own and I had no one, and then there was those two boys, mate, that love me like brothers and they have my back like that. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Why do you think you were bullshitting like yourself and probably other people? Like, were you aware that you were sort of doing that, or was it just something you weren't even really?
I didn't realize how bad it had gotten. I don't think anyone that has a drug problem or drinking problem ever realizes that they're at their worst.
Yeah.
I would have had no idea I was as bad as I was. I probably just thought I was being normal, but because it had become my normal.
Yeah.
But it wasn't normal. And yeah, I was like, once they brought me back to Toowoomba, and I stayed the night with Mum before I went to Maloney to rehab. Like, it's probably it would have been one of the first nights I hadn't been on the piss in like a long time. So I had some pretty bad withdrawals, and like I was overthinking and had like a real big sense of shame.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did realise, I think, I don't know why I didn't, why I was bullshitting myself. It was probably just self-medicating, mate, because I felt like I just didn't have a sense of purpose down there. And I think it was almost like behind the scenes self-destruct sort of mentality to try and, like, instead of just face up and say I wasn't happy, you know what I mean? Like, say, I'll fuck up and then someone will, you know what I mean? And then I can be the, instead of just being accountable for myself and being like, well, righto, fuck, I'm not happy. What do I need to do to change it and do something about it? It's sort of like a bit of a child reaction, really, what I did. But it's worked out. It's worked out. I know a lot of other people probably wouldn't get that opportunity to go to a rehab like that. But I think if anyone ever does, it's definitely worth its while.
100%. When you obviously mentioned then before, like, you weren't really aware because it'd sort of come your new normal, which is a good way to put it. But for people, you know, because I guarantee there's going to be people listening to this who are probably maybe going through similar things or have mates going through similar things to what you went through. Like, how would you have liked it? Obviously, you said you had two good mates that were there for you. Was there anything else that you wish maybe in a I guess a supportive environment you would have liked that may have helped prevent that, or, you know, moving forward, is there anything you'd do differently?
What I was doing before I went away.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, if I could go back and slap myself in the face, I would, for what I was doing and what I was doing to people. Like, even like, I'm sure a lot of people have done stuff like this, but like when you have a big weekend and you're always probably on the Monday when you're coming down, or Tuesday when you're coming down, I used to ring mum, and I'd ring mum, who's got a lot of shit going on in her own anyway, and I'd ring her and just tell her about how unhappy I was and how I fucked up and how, like, I wasn't happy with my life and where it was going and this and that. And she would have gotten that fed up of me ringing her saying that, because, like, looking from the outside in, I'm telling her I'm not using drugs and that I wasn't having a big weekend on the piss. So she had no idea what was going on. And, like, it would have been so confusing for her. And it's funny, like, when I did get out of rehab, mate, I had one of the boys that I am mates with, he rang me because he knew I'd gotten out, and he was telling me how upset he was. And it's pretty similar phone call to what I would do to my mum every Monday.
Yep.
And I said, mate, get off the piss, get off the gear, you'll feel better. And he's like, oh, yeah. That following weekend he went and got on the gear again. And then he rang me. He's like, coming down. And I said, mate, this is fucking the same conversation we had last week. Like, just don't do it again. And like, kept doing it. And I got to the point, I was like, fuck, my mum's a patient woman that she just kept answering these phone calls and talking to me because I had the shit in 2 or 3 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's one thing I wish I could do like better. Is like, when I'm feeling like that, or when people feel like that, like, there's a reason why. So, you know what I mean? Don't just keep on doing the same thing. Like, this is the definition of insanity, isn't it?
100%.
Doing the same thing over and over, expecting, but yeah, which is what I was doing, bro. 100%.
I think it's what a lot of people are doing. The amount of conversations I've had with people who do the same thing, they're like, oh, I need to get off the gear, or, you know, stop drinking as much. And then you'll see Instagram stories or whatever, and they're doing the same fucking thing. And you're like, mate, honestly, like, I don't get, like, obviously depending on what you want from your life, but if you want to make some progress and feel happier and, you know, find some purpose and fucking
get off Instagram.
Yeah. Well, that too. There was a study the other day saying it's like 40% decrease in anxiety if you're off social media. So there's all these things that affect us physiologically, socially, and you know, that we have control over, that we choose to just ignore. And we, you know, often the thing that we think's helping us, i.e. the drugs, the alcohol, you know, any form of addiction, whether it's gambling, sex, is fucking digging us in a deeper hole. Like you mentioned as well, you didn't want to be alone. So you're just trying to get a Sheila for the night, for the comfort. And it often ends up being just as empty, right?
It's worse, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you wake up in the morning, you're like, fuck, here we go again.
You got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, it's such a common thing for lads, right? Like, you're just constantly going through that motion.
It's easy to talk about how you're feeling, I think, just to do that. Be the big man that can say, oh, I guess what I got. Instead of saying, oh, actually, guys, I cried myself to sleep last night. It's easy to say you pulled a root and got a girl over. Like, you know what I mean? Then you're the big hero to them, but on the inside, you hate yourself. So,
yeah,
just need to talk 100%. And like, I reckon the most surprising thing is the people who are the best people to talk to about this sort of shit's always the least people that you would expect it. Like, people that you would have a big heart normally and who understand this. And everyone's gone through some form of bullshit, and everyone's gone through, and like everyone can always relate. Like, I had that many phone calls from people when I got out there, I never would have expected, telling me they'd been in rehab, they'd done that, and if I ever wanted to talk to them, I could. And it's like, people, I would never have expected that people like that to have even had problems, like drug and alcohol problems, you know, like, yeah. There's a lot of support out there.
100%. And especially now that I guess you're sort of a leader in that sense for getting help, and that you're going to have more and more people reach out for you and ask what it was like for you, obviously doing rehab and where your life's at now, which is, you know, it's an inspiring thing because a lot of people are sitting back not asking for help and they're holding on to the shit and it's hurting them. And obviously a lot of blokes are taking their life by suicide as a result of all these things, or you know, the other ripple effects is domestic violence, you know, disengagement at work and all this sort of stuff. So what you did, or like obviously the journey that you've been on, it's probably inspired a lot of people, and it's also given them the courage, or put them in a position where they feel they can reach out. And, you know, starting with the conversations with you is probably the first step for them as well.
Yeah.
What advice would you give for someone who's, you know, going through similar struggles to what you went through?
Honestly, just like first thing you need to do, I reckon, is talk to someone. But the biggest thing I found with my helping my struggles with it, like, because honestly, I still think about coke, drinking, gambling every day. Like, it still comes into my mind once or twice every day. But the biggest thing that I've found to help is like just with my exercise, mate. Like, I train twice a day now if I can, like, but definitely once. If I miss going to the gym any day, like Saturday, Sunday, everything, then I'll be off myself.
Yep.
That's the thing that's helped me, like, mentally. But like, any advice I could offer anyone would be like, yeah, get yourself into a group training environment, like, and like where people are going to motivate you to stay off the piss.
Yep.
Like, and if the people, and then honestly just talk to your friends. Like, I had mates in Brizzy, mate, and I was saying, I think I've got a drug problem, this, and talking to them, and they'd be like, yeah, and they'd want to talk to me about it. But then the next night they'd be like, let's go get a bag and get on the gear. And I'd be like, yeah, right, but you know what I mean? Like, they weren't really my friends.
Yeah.
Helping me, they just wanted me to fucking get on it with them. So also just people need to probably check. And since I've gotten out, mate, I haven't heard from those people. So it's like, just check who really are your friends and who really does give a fuck about you, because there's a lot of people that want to be around you when the times are good, but not when the times are tough.
100%. It's a good bit of advice there. So talk us through like rehab. What was that experience like for you? Obviously, you know, you're out the other side and it's been hugely impactful for you, but for you personally, when you were in there, how long were you there for?
It's 2 months.
Yeah, right. And what sort of stuff did you go through? And, you know, was it moments where you wanted to get out of there, or?
I actually loved it, mate. Like, it was hard. Don't get me wrong. Like, there was times that were fucking hard in there, but like the 2 months, it went that fast, and like I could have stayed. Like, I see how people, I don't know, not all rehab facilities are probably the same. This one was like in Maloney, mate, like Palladium it's called, and it's just like the people that work there, it's a holistic approach.
Yeah.
So it wasn't 12-step. Like, I'm sure 12-step works, but I don't think it would work for me. So it was just all like holistic, and like the food was good, and like every morning we'd get up and there'd be a group session of exercise, whether it was yoga, boxing, gym, swimming, like aquatics. They call it aqua conditioning because they didn't like water aerobics, the PT.
Fair play.
It's water aerobics supposed to sound like old fucks. But then we'd do that, and then we'd have brekkie, mate. And the two ladies that were the cooks there, they were awesome. Like, the food was just unreal, which is another big thing. Like, eating healthy, mate, it's a massive thing for your mental health, eh?
Yeah, 100%.
So, like, we do that, and then after that, you either have therapy for 2 hours or a PT session, or like I think twice a week I was getting massages, mate. I've never had a massage before in my life, but it was like ultimate, like, just let go of so much shit having a massage, I think. Like,
yeah.
sometimes going from a massage into therapy, mate. You walk out of therapy, fucking bawling your eyes out, and I'm like, you know what I mean? It's like an emotion. That's pretty much like what the days were like every day, filled with that. Like just they were non-stop. Some days there was quiet days, but I think that was like that on purpose, so that because mate, my biggest problem was boredom. Like it'd be Saturday and I'd be bored. I'd be like, fuck, I'll just go get a bag of Coke off someone and I'll go down and fucking play the pokies and I'll get on the piss. I'll run into someone I know and then I can, you know what I mean? So like in there, like being able to just sit there and entertain myself, like read a book, or I got really back into art while I was in there, like drawing and stuff and playing the guitar and just gym, mate. So I got back into all the artistic sort of things that I love that I'd completely lost.
Yep.
Before going, so
that's awesome.
That's what I love. That's what I love so much about it. Yeah, it was just like it was a reset, mate. And there was a lot of blokes in there that were probably like mid-50s in there that were all like successful in their fields or what they do, and they were all like just like amazed that I was in there because they're going, fuck. If I'd come in when I was your age, I wouldn't have had that second divorce, and I wouldn't have fucking, you know what I mean? They're like, your age, Joey. They're like, you're lucky, because I was in there going, I feel like fucking screw up. I'm 28 and I'm in here, and they're going. We should have come when we were 28. We wouldn't be here now. They're like, you've done the right thing coming. Like, they were massive on it. It was a pretty big eye opener, and I'm real happy that I did it. Yeah.
That's fucking awesome, mate. And they're spot on with that. Like you see all these, I coach a lot of people in that sort of field who are highly successful in certain fields, but then there's other elements of their life that aren't going well because they don't address the shit that, isn't going well. I think that's, from what you sort of spoke about there, like you did a lot of the inner work and, what that is sort of understanding what's going up in your mind, your emotional intelligence and stuff like that through the therapy and just learning to communicate better. But then, you did your physical exercise. You're a part of a bigger community of obviously the people in there had a common goal and, you improved that, your diet and the self-care sort of stuff. So you're doing all these, you're working on all these pillars that make, ultimately give you purpose, but make your body fucking work and your body and mind work well.
Yeah.
And it's just now, so now that you're out, like one thing you were saying offline there was like, obviously it was easier in there for you because it was a controlled environment, right? Like everything was set up to help you win, much like The Biggest Loser, right? Like those guys jump on those TV shows and everything's set up to help them win. But what's it been like for you since you've come out? Has it been challenging or, what's the life been like?
Yeah, it's definitely been challenging. Like Christmas was fucking pretty hard because like Christmas is always, my birthday is Christmas Eve. This was the first Christmas made in 10 years that I wasn't hungover as fuck and mum actually could have a conversation with me on Christmas Day.
Yep.
So that was, but normally I would just be on the piss like that whole break. And so like, that was the hardest. Like my boss thought that the hardest thing would be like the first month or two once I got out, but that was kind of easy because everything was fresh in my mind and like I had my direction, I had my path, and I knew what I wanted to do. And then came Christmas time, I reckon that was hard because all my family was home and everyone was drinking, this and that. And then come New Year's, like on New Year's I went around to my mates and I just didn't drink and like they were all the piss and I left. I've just fallen in love with waking up without a hangover, mate. And like you still get to be around there for all the fun for the first 3 or 4 hours and everyone's just like on that good level and then they start getting fucking messy and I'm like, I'm fucking here and you just bail.
Yeah.
It is still hard with like I get lonely sometimes, mate. Like I don't have misses or a lot of friends that aren't in relationships anymore in Toowoomba because we're getting to that age where a lot of people are getting married. So I definitely have my weekends where I'm lonely and I contemplate it, but that's where I just make myself go to the gym.
Yep.
Or my sister, mate. My sister is like she's my absolute rock. She's probably my best mate. She's been so good through all this and no judgment. Like if I was to go on laps or fuck up, like she wouldn't judge me. She'd just want to help me.
Yep.
So be completely honest with her about everything. So it's just good having someone like that there.
It's awesome, man. And it's good that you've replaced that, rather than going to get a bag, you're going to the gym and stuff like that. And, it's essentially another form of addiction. It's probably the similar one that I was working out for like 4 hours a day and stuff like that. But it's a positive addiction. Like it adds so much it helps you build mental resilience, muscle, all that sort of stuff, which is key, but it also stops you doing the dumb shit that you don't necessarily want to be doing. So it's quality. But for yourself, like now you come out sort of the other side and you're working hard on yourself. Like what does that sort of look like for yourself? You got the fitness. Are you doing any things to work on your mind and just your overall lifestyle as well?
Yeah, like one of the biggest things in there was mindfulness. I'm sure you know mindfulness, yeah? Like
Yeah.
meditating. So I try to do that, mate, at least twice a week.
Yep.
Normally I just sit down for 15 minutes and try and meditate and just sit on it and sort of go on a date with myself and see, especially like with all this gym I've been doing, mate, you get fucking sore everywhere. Like you got to just refer.
Yep.
I know from, you know what I mean? So like that's how I sort of keep my mind in check. And I'm going to see a fella this weekend about some Reiki or cleansing.
Yeah.
Brazza does that, so I'll give that a go. And went to that city cave the other weekend for a float, man. That was fucking awesome too.
Yeah.
I just did mindfulness and that for that whole hour, man. It went felt like 5 minutes.
Yep. That's awesome.
I'm massive on meditation. Meditation is awesome, I reckon.
100%.
People think that it's hippie jargon and this and that. That's probably what I would have said, but it actually works.
100%. I do it daily. I think it's just gym for the mind, essentially. Like if you don't work on that, you're going to fucking struggle. So you may as well, even when the times are good, you need to be working well because, you know, there's always going to be tough moments. So it's important to make sure you have the right things in place for that. And do you have sort of like a long-term view of, you know, is alcohol and let's just say alcohol, is that something you definitely want, you know, you want to cut out for good, or do you see yourself looking to integrate that again, or do you have an idea of all that, or are you just focusing on now for the moment?
Yeah, pretty much just focusing on now, bro. Like cocaine, definitely no.
Yep.
Gambling, no. Like no. But I'd love to be able to have like a few beers and this and that at a function, but like I don't see myself wanting to go out and have a fucking a bender ever again. Like it's too hard on the body, and it just sort of I don't like the person I am when I do it.
Yep. Yeah, fair play. What would you give, like, sort of wrap it up in a minute, but for your 18, if you could go back to your 18-year-old self when you sort of started drinking and getting on all of that sort of stuff, like what advice would you give to yourself for then, or even some young fellas who are listening to this, like what advice would you give to them?
Oh, I don't know how to put it into words properly, bro, but I'd honestly, like, it'd be like think about your future. Don't think about the fucking, like, the next girl you're going to hook up with or the next party you're going to. Think about your future. Like, doesn't mean necessarily you have to buy a house, which is one thing I thought I had to do. Don't have to buy a house, don't have to do this or that, but like think about where you want to be in 10 years' time, because I'm happy that I am where I am now, but if in a perfect world I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be 28, moved back to Toowoomba to start again fresh. Like, so I just think about, do you really need to buy that bag of Coke? Do you really need to go out and get on the piss? Or can you do something productive, like go around and give your mum a hug and cook her dinner or something like that to sort of make someone else's life a little bit better?
It's awesome, man. It's a different perspective, like really just starting to tie things in and think about, I guess, the man that you want to become in 10 years' time and what has to happen in order for you to achieve that, right? Like, what do you have to start learning? Where do you need to spend your time? Who do you need to spend your time around? And that sort of helps you get towards where you want to be in 10 years' time, not the short-term exciting moments of having a bag of rack or, you know, smashing a heap of beers, which, you know, don't get me wrong, it's good fun, but it doesn't move you to, unless that's what you want for your life. But I think the reason why you're here now is you don't want that for your life. You want, you know, you're a dreamer, as you said, and you've got more to give. So it's now starting to create that identity and grow into that version of yourself, which is going to be exciting to watch. Like, I'm excited to follow your progress, man. Definitely am.
Thanks, bro.
Anyway, excited
to share it.
Yeah, it'll be fucking unreal. But mate, we'll wrap it up there. Obviously, the last question, I know you touched on it throughout the podcast, but what's your definition of being a man?
Oh, be yourself around others who you are when you're on your own.
Boom. Yeah. Short and sweet. I love it, mate. Yeah. Hey, Joe, thanks so much for your time. Like, obviously, there will be some people who listen who can probably, or I would say there would be a lot of people who can relate to your experience, and will probably, you know, if possible, is it all right for people to reach out to you, or
if anyone wants to reach out, they can reach out to me anytime.
Yeah. What's the best way for people to contact you? Is it are you on social media, or did we say earlier you're off social media?
No, I am on Instagram.
Yeah.
So Joey Parks, my Instagram handle.
Sweet. I'll attach that in the show notes for those who are listening. But reach out. But mate, once again, thank you so much for sharing your story. I know it's such a brave thing to do. It's a hard thing, and I don't know whether you found it challenging or not, but there's a lot of people who really struggle to share their story. So I'm guaranteeing you there'll be hundreds of men who've been inspired by you sharing what you've gone through and what the future looks like for you. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing all that, mate.
Thanks, bro. No worries.
Okay, guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachie Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.